how long have you been doing real estate? It's like, well, how long have I been effective at it, or how long have I been doing it? Because I got my license 4.5 years ago, but the first year was almost thrown away because I was at a brokerage that didn't have anything like this, by the way. I mean, literally nothing like this. And when you come into any office or any field, you don't know what you don't know. So, you know, you don't know what questions to ask. So I thought I did my research, and I did, but I still didn't know what I was looking for. You know, it's that I wasn't familiar with any of the territory. So, so I realized after a period of time, like, well, first, I actually thought I chose the wrong field. I thought maybe I made a huge mistake because this isn't just for me. It just wasn't working. I didn't like the environment. What I was being told to do wasn't working, and I was just being told very little. And then after about a year is when I met somebody from KW Largemont, and things went off from there. But you can even ask Joey. I mean, like, we interviewed 3 times, and I gave him like a hard interview each time, because for me, I was like, I'm only doing this once. I'm not gonna be one of those realtors that hops around from brokerage to brokerage. I want to know where I want to be, and then I want to stay there and, you know, plant my roots. And so they were intense. It wasn't like, oh, let's get coffee for 5 minutes. I mean, like, I was grilling him for about an hour at least each time. But one of the things I really liked it was all the educational opportunities. In fact, if anything, you might get a little bit overwhelmed with the educational opportunities, and that's fine. Actually, that's a good thing, because for me, I look at that, and then you take it piece by piece, much like real estate, you know, getting into it where you take one thing at a time, you learn it well, and you move on. And, you know, you glean from it, and you'll go back to it later, and you'll learn more and more. So for me, marketing, the reason why I really enjoy marketing is before I did real estate, I did computer IT consulting and support. And it's specialized in Macs. So my entire clientele pretty much was anything having to do with the media industry. And so I had a lot of people that were involved in marketing. I consulted on a number of their projects. And it's just one of those things that I just really enjoyed doing. And in fact, a couple of companies I worked for, I kind of took over their marketing and promoted things. So that's why I love, you know, this part. I'm, you know, I would say I'm a B graphic designer. You know, I know my skills. I know, you know, what's good. But then I know when I need to hand something over to an A graphic designer. So you guys, if you're, well, in coaching, I even make one of the listing presentations that was done by our graphic design branch of our office. And I had them do it because it looked incredible. And it was definitely a work. And that was like, oh, that's work that I can't crank out overnight. So let me just hand that off to them. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. Today, we're going to focus on lead generating for buyers and sellers and marketing sellers listings. In fact, there was an article that just came out today from KW about how to leverage your listing. So I want to read that article for myself and for some of the people in our office that has that. Okay, there's a difference between marketing and prospecting. Think of, okay, when you're marketing can be anything out there that you're putting, hey, I'm a realtor. You know, hey, this is what I'm doing. It could be your business card. It could be a social media post. It could be a professional social media post. It can be actually a private one too. You know, why do I say that? The rule of thumb on your social media accounts like Facebook, you know, your personal accounts, your Instagram, is you want it to be 80% you or what you're interested in and 20% real estate. So, and that's always a really good rule of thumb to have, because if you have, I know people who've got in this industry and then their entire profile is nothing but real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate. Well, you tune them out. The average person in the United States moves every 9 to 10 years. And if you're catching them on, let's say, year 5, year 6, they're not even thinking about buying or selling. So everything you're putting out there means nothing to them. I mean, don't want to be mean, but it's true. It's just like if you had somebody that was selling, Blockbuster stock, and all their post is like, oh, you can get Blockbuster stock really cheap. Or somebody that's constantly putting in there about how to deal with snow. And one, it's during the summer, and two, we're in California. It's that kind of stuff where it's like, that means nothing to me, and therefore I'm going to tune you out. And either you don't go to their postings a lot, which then puts you farther down in the algorithm and they don't see your postings as much, or they just completely unfollow you, which is, ooh, that's so sad, too bad. You're not going to be seen at all anymore. Where if you keep it 80% yourself and then 20% real estate, that's what they keep tuning in for. They keep tuning in for you, but then it keeps you front of mind that you're a realtor, that everything you're doing out there is also about real estate. And you can combine the two. Don't think it's a hard and fast rule. What do I mean by that? I mean this little thing, okay? I use the dogs in all of my marketing. Some of you, if you've seen some of my business cards, this girl's on there, and so is the other one. Okay, I know. But the reason why, I do that because I love my kids, and that is part of me. But I have so many people that follow me because of that. I've had people, I put up pictures of the dogs all the time. They're both rescues, and they're both Australian blue heelers. So I use all the, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of the Instagram tags that are blue heelers. And I get people following me that just happen to love blue heeler cattle dogs. They don't know I'm a realtor. They don't even know me, but they're following me because of that. I have other people, I'm very involved in my community. And so a lot of my posts are about the community. And my passion is, we have a women and children's crisis shelter for victims of domestic abuse. And I've started a fundraiser for them. I'm the vice president this year of the board. I was the vice president last year. I'll probably be the president next year. It's just a passion of mine. I post stuff about that all the time as well. Actually, if you're in coaching, our coaching award of the month is the 2 dogs. You get a little thing that with the 2 dogs, and you get a little stuffed version of my dogs, of a cattle dog. But I do that because that just comes from who I am. And I've had people on my Facebook, they've told other people, you need to follow Rob because he posts the cutest pictures of his dogs. Now, she doesn't say you need to follow Rob because he's a realtor, and eventually you're going to need that. They want to go to my Facebook because of my dogs. Now, I am posting things about real estate. In fact, just yesterday, I have this thing that I post weekly where I have like a little quadrant, and it's 4 different areas, and it's which one are you? And so yesterday was 4 different types of bathrooms, and I had it up there. And then at the bottom, it just has my realtor information, on that. And I post it on my Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And I get people responding. I'm an A, I'm a B. Oh, I really like A and B, but if I have to choose one, I'd really want D. That kind of thing. And what it does is that people come to my Facebook page because they want to be involved in that. They want to say something. It also really helps, by the way, on social media, if you put something there that's just not one way, it's 2 ways. You put something there and you ask an opinion. What do you think of this house? Do you like this door? What would you do to this kitchen? People love to give their opinion. Does a few things. 1, makes you top of mind, and 2, puts you higher in the algorithm of a lot of other people out there that their friends also see who you are. So that's marketing. You're never directly asking for business, but you're letting everybody know you're doing business. Think of it that way. Prospecting is the active part. And prospecting is a one where literally Ashley's calling somebody up on the phone and saying, hey, you came to our open house the other day and you said you were interested in these sort of homes. How can I help you? What can I do? Or she calls up and she's saying, hey, I haven't talked to you in a long time. How are things going? You ask what we call the Ford questions. You ask about their family, about their occupation, about their recreation, and about their dreams. Doesn't have to be all 4, but throw in a few of those and hey, you're golden. Because instead of asking, is a family good? You ask more, how is the family doing? And then they start that conversation. So the whole time you're just creating that relationship to make you top of mind. You may also in there say, by the way, if your family or any other family needs anything for real estate, even if it's just being a resource, like sending you a plumber or something like that, please ask me. I would be more than happy to help. That's active prospecting. And that's when you're actually asking for the business directly. So there's the difference between the two. Today, we're talking about marketing. And I love to skip ahead on the slides because a lot of them just keep repeating themselves. I'm like, I keep repeating myself enough, so you guys don't need something else to do that. Okay, this I think is a good graph on there. When you're looking at the difference between prospecting and marketing, you're looking at, especially if you're new in the business, you're going to be probably doing more prospecting and then secondarily marketing, because prospecting is time intensive, okay, but it's not necessarily money intensive. So the prospecting is, okay, I don't know about you, but I'm unlimited on everything on this, you know, and I have a crappy sprint plan. So I'm still unlimited on everything. So I can call as many people as I want throughout the day. I can text as many people as I want throughout the day. I can, you know, do any of that. And I say texting because even though phone calls are more personable, we all know some of our clients are different. And even at times, you may know somebody may be working and they're not going to take a phone call, but you can send out an actual text that's not a generic one, you know, and reaching out. I consider that a contact, because for a lot of people out there, they prefer that. I have some people that use Messenger all the time. And I'm like, okay. Or they want to use Instagram direct messaging. Okay. You know, I mean, it's like, fine, if that's what you want to do, that's okay. But it's an interpersonal interaction. That's more the prospecting side of things, you know, and you're also more proactive in it. It's something that you're doing something about it. You know, hey, I am making, and you can even quantify it. I am making 10 phone calls today. I'm going to send out 5 texts. I'm going to write out 5 cards, you know, that sort of thing. So you can do all of that sort of thing. That's more the prospecting side. The marketing, that can be money intensive. Not necessarily. There's a few things you can work. And I got into the business having to support a boyfriend, my 2 dogs, and my mom. So it wasn't like, oh, let me cut off all my funds and I have this stock load of money saved up and I'm going to start real estate. For me, it was like, oh, no, I'm working 2 careers and I'm getting into real estate and I have to watch how much I'm spending on the marketing side of things. So there are some things you can do that's still marketing that aren't going to be as pricey, and some things can be very pricey. And there's times that I kind of figure out how to work both ends of it. But you're looking at more, that's the money intensive side. And also that's the passive side. That's the side you're not really doing anything directly to that person. So let's say, Ashley, I'm picking on you big time. Let's say Ashley went to high school with Gertrude and she hasn't talked to Gertrude in years, okay? But she goes ahead and she puts up a Facebook post, or she sends Gertrude, because she lives in her neighborhood, just a regular realtor marketing card, nothing personalized on it. That's all passive. You know, that's the kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And by the way, the results are kind of different between the two. With the prospecting, you tend to get more the immediate. With the marketing, it's more what's going to come eventually, you know, what's going to come in the long term. And sometimes in real estate too, there's different approaches to this. For me, when I got into real estate, I wanted to be a networking and a referral type agent. And I was even warned at the time, a really good buddy of mine, he told me, he said, listen, dude, he said, I understand what you're wanting to do, and I would love my business to be that way. But he said, you're in it for the long haul. So it's going to take a while for your business to build up, as opposed to some of the super proactive stuff like calling, making cold calls, calling expireds, that kind of stuff, which is intense. And it's a different way of doing business. But he said, that's going to be a little bit more of a long-term play. But that's what I wanted. You know, I wanted that sort of thing. And most of my clients now that I'm getting them, I'm not, I've had listing presentations where literally I've had somebody call me up and say, we need to sell mom's house. Can you bring over the contract tomorrow? Yeah. Okay. What time? Well, I can be there at 5. Okay, that works. I'll see you then. That was my whole listing presentation. because that was more of the referral networking type of client. Now, mind you, I've gotten a few referrals too. I've had to do my whole dog and pony show and do the presentation and that kind of stuff. But that's the kind of stuff that sometimes the marketing brings in, because you keep on putting out there, you're a realtor, you're a realtor, you're a realtor. This is what you're doing. Look at this home. Look at this home. What do you think of this bathroom? Hey, here's the mortgage rates. Hey, here's, and all these different things. And by the way, you guys know, if you're in coaching, I send you a ton of this stuff all the time. But that's all the kind of stuff that's the marketing end of it. Now, the cheaper side of marketing, of course, is anything electronic. And that's where it can come really cheap, because then, you know, you send out an email and we're unlimited emails. The problem is everybody's sending out unlimited emails. So sometimes you got to remember that. Your newsletter would be a form of passive marketing. And especially, I'm going to encourage you. I used to do my newsletter by hand and it looked okay. I mean, I'll be honest, it looked a little hokey. I knew it looked hokey because I did it in my mail program on my Apple computer. But it was like, hey, it's just what I'm doing at the time. And it was during the pandemic and kind of nobody cared, to be honest. You know, during the pandemic, nobody cared what anything looked like. It's just something's getting to them. Now I switched over to MailChimp a while ago and I'm like night and day. And it went from 4 to 5 hours of me putting my newsletter together. Literally, it takes me 45 minutes to an hour. And one of the secrets is, even a lot of the articles I send out there, I literally copy and paste most of the article, and then I'm good. I don't even have to check for typos because they already did. So that's one of those free marketing things you can do, is setting up a newsletter. And that's one of those that it keeps you front of mind, you know, sort of thing. But again, you even want your newsletter, this is a tip, you even want your newsletter to reflect maybe that 80-20 rule. There's some personal stuff in there, because I get newsletters all the time that it's like, look at these homes, look at these homes. These are the ones I've listed. This is this and this. So it does kind of remind me like, oh yeah, they're a realtor. First of all, if you're just starting in the industry, you're not going to have that. But then a lot of those, delete, delete, delete. I don't even open it up because I know, well, that's all that's in there. I don't give a crap. I can look that stuff up myself. I'm in the business. But if I have, like, if I get a newsletter and it's got other information in there, I'm like, oh, let me go through that. And I'll even have people that will email me back and say, thank you for this article. Thank you. Because I have information. I'm very health oriented and mindset and so on. So I'll have articles in there about that all the time. And I have people like, wow, that was a really great article. I also always have a picture of my mom in there. And I have some people that will email me back and say, I love seeing your family photos. You know, it's just, and guess what? I have a connection with that person now. And this person I have literally met once in passing, but we now have an email exchange every so often because of that. So I have a feeling I may be at least one of the people that's front of mind in case she knows of any real estate needs out there. By the way, she happens to be the community relations person at a senior community. And that's why I'm keeping in touch with her, because if somebody comes in the community and they need to sell a home, she'll think of me first.
Rob, how much is MailChimp?
MailChimp is free. It's only when you become a big boy or big girl out there does it get, you have to start paying for it. But I think it, like, if your contacts are under 2,000, I didn't even have to look into it. But I mean, if your contact, or it's somewhere high up there, then
I think it's 5,000.
Paying for it.
Wow, okay.
I think it's under 5,000. It's free.
Okay, under 5,000.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, so it really has to be, you have to be a big boy business to do that. So for all of us, it's free. And all the tools are there, and it really, the interface is simple, and what you see is what you get. That's another thing I love. It's not like, oh, it went out there, I hope it looks good. What you see is what you get.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so the next slide, and this is when I give my disclaimer about everything in Ignite and Keller Williams. And Keller Williams is international. They're also, guess what, national. And obviously, all of these materials are made for the entire United States. So there's some things you have to take into account because of that. One of the things is that all these materials have to be boiled down into what would apply to most all the markets out there, what would apply to most of the demographics, and what would apply to most of the styles of real estate. So for instance, let's just talk about styles of real estate for a second. And the reason why I'm diving into this is because that will affect, even how you market things. I mentioned to you, I tend to be more of a referral and a networking type of realtor. So some of my marketing is a little bit of prospecting and a little bit of marketing combined, because I dig deep into relationships. And that's how I get a lot of my business. One tip that I've given, I started a couple of years ago, and wow, it paid off. I bought these little balsa wood ornament frame hangers, that you put on your Christmas tree. That's really super light. Then I would stalk some of my really good friends on Facebook or whatever, and I would download pictures of their cats, of their dogs, that sort of thing. I would go to do those, really cheap Walgreens, photo stuff. I would just lay it out and put like 6 of those in one of those 5x7 photos, print it out, cut it up, put it in each one of those little things. And then when I mailed them a Christmas card, I included that. And oh, by the way, I have a stamp that has my name and my number on the back. And so I stamped it on the back of balsa wood, which means it soaks in and it's never coming off that puppy. So one is I got a lot of people saying to me, Rob, that was really thoughtful. I really appreciated that. And it was like, that was really cool. Guess what? It's also passive marketing, because every year that they put the ornaments on the tree and they hang the picture of their dog Woofy, my name is going to be on there and they're going to remember who I am. That's one of those ways that I tend to dig a little deeper because of my style of real estate. Laura Anderson, who's in our office, she's more of a farmer. So her area is Faircrest Heights, which is where she lives, and she heavily farms that area. So she sends out newsletters all the time, postcards all the time. She's involved in their neighborhood watch. She's involved in all those different things. So for her, that's her style of marketing. That's what she does because that's the kind of industry that she's in. Christina Kim is very much involved in a lot of developers out there. So for Christina, she's always working on the developer side of things. And she has a little bit more of that approach to her business. Now, all of us cross over, by the way, and all of us do other things. It's more what you focus on. But it just is, that even affects your marketing. So as we go through some of these things, like it's going to talk about, and it's going to have some things that are going to be outdated. Like, oh, look, you can advertise in newspapers. Haven't had a newspaper thrown at my house for years. So understand that some of these things are trying to cover all of that, just because you're going to have to figure out which ones are going to pick and choose for both. And there's some areas that cross over a little bit, and that's the line that's in the middle. I'm not going to go over all of this because I'm not going to waste, everybody's time just like, oh, let me read and then try and spin through the rest at the end. But there's a difference between good marketing and bad marketing. Okay, and some of this, you guys can read this. I mean, this is pretty easy to get. But there's good marketing, bad marketing. One, bad marketing, think of Microsoft. And I point this out because if you look at any Microsoft product, they have all this crap on the front, all this crap on the side. And then it's like, oh, and because basically they're putting in what the requirements are. Oh, it has this in it now, it has this in it, blah, 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 blah. So you look at that and you're like, oh, okay. Now from a geeky side of view, I'm like, oh, I appreciate that because I can see exactly what's in there. But for broad marketing, it puts off most people. You go into an Apple store, it says MacBook Pro, and it has a photo, and that's it. Nothing else. Sometimes on the very side, it will have a label that'll have some of the specs in there, but it's just the specs. It's not like, oh, you can run this and you can run this. And by the way, it doesn't do any of that crap. It just has the basic specs and then that's it. But Apple's marketing is far superior to Microsoft because it's simple and it's elegant and it gets its message across. So even when it comes to, sometimes when I put together listing descriptions, when I put together brochures, I'll read through it and I even ask myself, can I take out sentences and words? How can I make this shorter? Because if I can make it shorter, then it's more direct. I send out a Christmas newsletter every year that literally is 5.5 by 8.5, both sides, and that's it. and it has a lot of photos. So like if we've done traveling, I have traveling photos in there. And I just say, hey, we went to Hawaii and we did this and blah, blah, blah. Oh, here's the pictures of the dogs doing, their Christmas, whatever. Oh, that's it. It takes probably about the most 2 to 3 minutes to read through our newsletter. I get people all the time that tell me how much they appreciate it because it takes 2 to 3 minutes to read through my newsletter. And they basically know everything they need to know. And I know they know everything that's in my newsletter. As opposed to, I get some of those Christmas letters that are 3 pages, single spaced. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to take this one in the bathroom and read if I want to do that even. And sometimes I don't read it till months later, and it's like, oh, by the way, oh, somebody's got married. I missed that one, didn't I? I mean, so that's the sort of thing where it's so busy, you lose them. And even then, I have a vested interest because I know this person. If it comes to marketing and they don't know you and they see something that long, delete, throw away. So less is more, less is more. Communicate. And business cards are the same way. I used to have a business card. I'm like, I was certified in 4 different areas. And I'm like, well, let me make that better. Let me take off 1. So I'm certified in 3 areas, first-time home buyer, senior real estate specialist, and what was the other one? Renovation loan buyer. Well, I realized the only one I'm going to focus on is senior real estate. So I left the whole design the same. I took out the other 2. I just left in the senior real estate, and I'm looking at it, I'm going, wow, that looks a lot better. Because now it's like direct, it's easy. And what's my focus? And oh, by the way, if I give my card to someone, I say, yes, I'm a senior real estate specialist. But of course, if somebody is a first-time home buyer, they have any other need, I'd be more than happy to help them. So that's okay. But it makes it easier. It's not super busy, as opposed to people. Sometimes you'll get business cards in this industry where they try and tell you everything about them. And you're like, oh, and then it gets so small. It's like, holy crap, I can't read any of that. So you want it to be simple. You want it to be elegant. Less is more. You also want it to be for your target audience. The old brokerage I was at, oh my gosh. Okay, the great thing about being at such a crappy brokerage, and I'm being recorded, so I'm not going to cuss a lot. I probably end up cussing, but still. But the great thing about being at such a crappy brokerage is you kind of know when you're in a really good place now. So it's almost like if you've ever been in a bad relationship, let's raise our hands, and then you're in a really good relationship, it's like, wow, this is so different. And so you kind of appreciate that. So my first brokerage, there were a number of realtors that would have plastered on the side of their car. And it would be like Arnold and Rosa Real Estate. And, I'd see that kind of stuff all the time. And it'd be like, oh, should I be doing that? Because I didn't know. I just started. I'm like, just to me, that kind of looks tacky. Guess what? It is tacky. So what they're doing is they're pretty much marketing themselves to the lower part of real estate. The lower price point is what that's attractive to, but not a higher price point. So think of your target audience. Now I bring that up. In our office, we have the Woodward team, Andrew and Mary Woodward. And they pretty much just specialize in the Hancock Park area, which that's where Larchmont is, right in the center of it. Notice there's no decals on their cars. That's the kind of thing. It's like, no. If they were to drive up to somebody's home and they have Woodward Realty on the side, it could look a little tacky. And their clients would be like, oh, is this representing me? So you want to make sure your target, your audience is how you're marketing to it. And just because somebody is doing it doesn't mean you should be doing it. So, you can balance those things out there and just and figure out what works well. For me, I'm a big wine person. Anybody who knows, but I do postings on wine too, trust me. I will at times give my better clients really nice bottles of wine. And I'll dress them up and I put them, like if it's Christmas, I put them in little Christmas costumes and I make it all cute. But it's very tasteful. It's that, that's a clientele that I'm trying to market to. Oh, by the way, all of those clients have given me business for $900,000 homes to $2 million homes. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make sure if I even give them a gift, it's more appropriate to who they are. They're not going to think it came from Dollar Tree. So not knocking Dollar Tree. You can buy your cards there and that's fine. You know, just don't buy birthday gifts there. Okay. Also, is marketing effective or by the way, this is, I know I'm off script because I have all my own notes on this, as you can see. Because they don't cover this in there. And I'm like, this is so key because I see bad marketing all the time. And unfortunately, okay, let me get to that right afterwards. Okay, is it effective or is it entertaining? Now, except for Safwin, you guys are all too young for this. Back in the 70s, there was a commercial and the commercial kept on saying, oh, I can't believe I ate the whole thing. And like you'd see people like this and it shows like this big pile of spaghetti, or it showed lasagna, or it showed all of these, and they did tomato foods because it was kind of acidic, but it'd be like, oh, I can't believe I ate the whole thing. So they thought it was a great commercial ad because everybody laughed at it. Everybody loved it. You know, it's like, oh, you know, sort of thing. But guess what? When they polled the public on what the commercials were for, everybody thought it was spaghetti sauce. It was actually for Rolaids. It was for settling your stomach for being too acidic. But that's one where they had this great idea and this great concept. And at the end, they did put Rolaids, but nobody paid attention to it because the entire content was all about this other stuff. So people never associated the two and they remembered tomato sauce. That's all they remembered. They didn't remember Rolaids. So it's very entertaining, but it doesn't mean it's effective. And sometimes I've seen that as well too. I've seen Facebook ads and even some of the flashy stuff, you know, where you're seeing like this incredible video. And this actually at my old brokerage, I could tell this one guy, he got this new video editing tool because it did like the go straight in and then come straight out and then go here and then go there. You know, it did all these fancy flashy things. And I was like, I really still don't know much about that property. All I know is that he has a drone that was going in and out all over the place. So, you know, it's that kind of thing where you temper what is entertaining. Like one or two of those in that video would have been fine, not the entire video, but you temper that entertaining with, is it being effective? You also want to, this is an industry where you are asking, well, what do these people do? What do these people do? What do these people do? It might be a better question to ask, what are they doing that's effective? And why is it effective? That would be a much better question to ask. People could be sending out, you hear about people sending out postcards all the time. And I'm not putting that down, but that could be a waste of money or that could be very strategic. Well, how is it a waste of money? How is it strategic? You want to ask those questions in your marketing. And you know, that could also save you a crap load of money. A personal example, I actually bought a marketing system when I first got in the industry and it cost me $2,100, I think, somewhere around there. And it was called Community Marketing Systems. And they had like this whole system, by the way, that was totally untested, but you know, I was like, oh, I didn't know any better, so I bought it. And it was the idea, like they had all these different guides. One was like, you know, are you downsizing because, you know, you're getting older and you want to make, you know, you want a smaller place to live? Are you going through a divorce? How do you pick a real estate agent? How do you go from renting to buying? All of these sort of guides. And the guides themselves were actually pretty good. But the marketing side of it was, here, buy these postcards. Here's the templates, order them from anywhere you want. And then, you know, go ahead and send them out. And then here's the follow-up letters. Here's a follow-up this. Here's how you do this. I was like, okay. So I'm looking at all this and it dawned on me like 2 years after I bought it, oh, wait a minute. This whole marketing system is designed to contact people that you don't know, that you have no connection to whatsoever, and try and get their information. And I realized this is not my approach to real estate at all. So this is totally useless to me because I'm not going to use it. It's just really not. Now the guides themselves have been useful. And so I've kind of, you know, ad hoc those, but I'm like, crap, I paid $2,100 for guides. So that's one of those things. It's like, it's not appropriate and it's not, it doesn't work for what I need in that moment. Little hints, nobody gives a crap about your pins. You know, I mean, I've got a pin here, I think from someone. Yeah, I've got a pin here. I don't even know who it's from. Who is it from? some dentist. Yeah, okay. You know, I mean, the pins don't matter. And besides, most of these pins are crappy anyway, you know. Oh, I want to be remembered for my crappy pin. Those things, not so much. Other things that could stand out could, you know, that's the sort of thing that can make a big difference. Okay, normally I don't do this, but I've got something I need to show you because you'll see the difference and why it's effective marketing. So hang on. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so when I wanted to get into real estate, I hope none of you guys, you had to get coffee during that time. But I hope, or when I first got into real estate, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on pins and that. And I even knew, because my mom used to be a realtor, she was like, I get notepads from all these people all the time. She goes, I use the notepads. I don't know who these people are. I don't care. And that's what ends up happening sometimes. So you spend a lot of money doing that. So I was actually for the shelter I just mentioned earlier, I was at an event for them, and the Aetna Health had a booth there, and these were flying off the booth. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought, well, maybe it's just a small pin, you know, something like that. I was like, fine, no big deal. So I went over there and I'm like, oh my God. Okay, so look at this. This is a mini lint brush. So you take the lint brush, you put it on the back of this, and now anywhere you are, you can do this and clean yourself off. I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. No wonder everybody wants one of these. So I took one, I contacted my marketing guy, and I said, hey, can you get this for me? And he's like, yeah. These ended up costing me, I paid $330 for 500 of them, I think is what it cost. And my name and everything is on the side. Now, also, I bought those years ago. What I did was I don't give those away. I don't just automatically give them away. For one thing, you look at this and it's a pin, nobody cares. And so it's kind of, you have to kind of more demonstrate it. That's when I use it. I'll take these, like when I'm at events or that, I'll have a few of them with me. I'll take it and I'll say, hey, by the way, you know, this might be useful to you. So I take it out and they do the same thing. I'm like, look, oh my God, that is so cool. I had one person say, can you give me another one? I want one from home and one from my office. I'm like, sure. And of course, my information's on the side. So this, to me, is much more effective marketing because it stands out, it's unique. And then also, I'm not just dumping a ton of money where I spent $330 and like, oh, in 3 months, they're all gone because I gave it out to everybody, even strangers. Nope, this is that sort of thing. It's a little bit, no, it's a higher touch. So it's when I'm at my networking events and those sort of things, I will give that away to somebody. I had to show that to you because I'm like, all right, you can see like, oh my God, it just totally stands out. Okay, and part of that too, you want it to be where you get return on investment. You want your business to always be, what's the return on investment when you're prospecting, and your investment can be money or it can also be time. So I'm going to be really bloody honest on this part. I am very involved in the Whittier Chamber because I'm from Whittier and that's where the shelter is, and I'm involved in a lot of Whittier stuff, but I was very involved in the Whittier Chamber. And I can tell you, I got zero business being so involved with the chamber. And it wasn't like I was just kind of active. I was high level. I was an ambassador. I was up front doing announcements every week. I was doing all of this crap. I got no return on investment. Well, I've discovered, and I've talked to other chamber members that I'm really good friends with, that chamber, they're not loyal to chamber members. It's like they come to the stuff and they get exposure, but then they're not loyal to other chamber members. I joined another chamber, Irwindale Chamber, which is really close to us. And if you're active, they're very loyal to you. You know, they will promote you. And that's one, okay, the money is the same between both. Almost, if you go to a chamber, almost every chamber is around $350 for the year. But the time commitment is what's the difference. If I'm at the Whittier Chamber, not a big return on investment. But if I'm at the Irwindale Chamber stuff, big return on investment. So that's where my time is going to go. Same thing when it comes to the money you spend out there. You know, I mentioned these, but same thing, like if you were to buy postcards and that kind of stuff, you can easily dump $500 in postcards and mail those out and see nothing. Well, then you start asking the questions. Why? Why did I get no return on investment? One, am I expecting to return too early? Is it one of those areas I'm going to have to keep on soaking it and soaking it and soaking it, and then I get a return on investment? Were my postcards just ugly? You know, I mean, let's just be honest. Were they ugly? Were they too busy? Were they boring, just like every other realtor postcard out there? You know, those are all the sort of things like, is it going to be effective for your money, your time, that sort of investment? And also on different things, is it appropriate? And what I mean is, like if you're doing events and that kind of stuff, it's really good to keep with a theme. So I mentioned I'm a big wine person and I'm a dog person. So that's kind of the two biggest things. Oh, and coffee. People know me for those three things. And so I incorporate that in a lot of my marketing, you know, online and so on. But even, in fact, we had a yappy hour at the office, and I got that from a senior community I went where they had a yappy hour, and all the vendors, we all brought our dogs, and then they had other vendors there like Petco and so on that had little, you know, door prizes and other giveaways and that sort of thing. And so also, if you don't squirrel in this industry, you know, where you see a marketing idea and like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, that's a great, oh, squirrel, 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 squirrel. You want to be more like, okay, what is a good approach, overall approach? And does that fit into my marketing? You know, is that something that is effective with me? You're going to have a hard time using dogs in your marketing if you don't own a dog. Let's just be honest. But if you have a cat, you can easily do that. I know a woman that she's up in, I think, San Jose area, and she's a realtor, and she has one of those classic yellow early 70s VW bugs. So she uses that in all of her marketing. She literally, that's her little, you know, go-to shtick where everybody knows her by that. And, you know, she goes, well, I'll be pulling up in my little VW bug, you know, sort of idea. And she has it on her logo and that kind of stuff. And it then introduced me to this app, which I also use quite a bit. It's called My Talking Pet. And like this one, I sent out to a friend of mine. And it has, you can animate anything basically. So,
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lori. Happy birthday to you.
So Lori's kind of boring, so I just made it boring. I make them funner sometimes. But I use the dogs mostly in that because you can do the dogs. She used the same app for her VW bug. She made her bug on all of her social media talk and sing and do all these different things. So everybody got to know her. So that was her marketing shtick. You know, that was her go-to, and everybody got to know her for that. And it was appropriate because she didn't drive up then, you know, in a Suburban. She still drove up in her bug. You know, it was consistent marketing too. Okay. Let's see. Some of these are actually really great questions. You can see I highlighted all of them. So I really like these questions. How do you know where the customer is and how do you meet them there? This is, you know, okay. Again, this can come in many different ways. So, and you guys can, I'm sure, can think of some areas that I'm not going to even bring up. But again, I specialize in seniors. That's one of my specialties. So a lot of times when I'm even marketing to, like if I get a good article I see on like dementia research or nutrition for seniors or any of those sort of things, I'll take that and I forward it to all my contacts in the senior communities. And I'm like, hey, here's a great article. Well, guess what? That's marketing. You know, it has my signature right at the bottom. They know who I am. That's marketing. And so I'm meeting them where their concerns are at. I'm not sending these articles to like my friends that are in their 30s because they probably don't care about them. That's one of those things. The idea is, let's say you're looking at first-time home buyers. Then, okay, what are you doing that first-time home buyers would be concerned with? So this is an industry where you have a lot of people, it's an old phrase, you know, pounding on your chest, and realtors do that all the time. I mean, seriously, you'll see, oh, look, I'm a diamond level in this brokerage. Oh, I'm an emerald level in this brokerage. I've sold over 2 billion homes in this neighborhood. You know, I mean, blah, 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 blah. Who gives a shit? Okay. See, I cussed. But who really cares? They care about their needs. And so that's where you meet them at. So what are they needing? What in marketing, what are they wanting to see come from you? And that's even when I was told this great expression years ago, that's when you scratch an itch. And scratch an itch is, what are people thinking of at the time? So if they are thinking of like, okay, somebody right now, I brought this up on the 9 a.m. call and on the morning, the meeting, the weekly meeting about a month ago, that Googling housing bubble has gone up 2,400% for the search on that. So guess what? It's on people's minds. So that may be one of those things you use in marketing. If you put your line on whatever, are we in a housing bubble? Is this a bubble? Is the bubble going to burst? Blah, anything like that. And you put a question mark, that's what people are thinking. So now you're scratching their itch. That's what's on their mind. You're going to be so much more effective marketing to scratching that itch than to try and create something that they don't even care about or haven't thought about. A lot of ads are like that. Okay, I can't think of another ad right now, and so I'm so sorry on this. But in the 70s, Marlboro became one of the bigger cigarette vendors because they always had the Western man. And basically, were they marketing to, hey, you're going to put this thing in your mouth and smoke the smoke out of it? That wasn't their marketing. Their marketing was to men's egos on, you use these cigarettes, you're going to be the macho man that everybody wants to be, the independent frontier man that people look up to. That was their marketing. That was the itch they were scratching. And it was really effective. But that's what they were doing. So you want your, you want to be able to meet them where they're at and address those needs. And sometimes too, doing a question, putting something in the question, that's when it's effective. So, housing bubble's one of them. First-time home buyers. How can I get into the housing industry as a renter? Question mark. Oh, I bet a lot of first-time home buyers are thinking that right now. So that's an itch you're scratching. That's what I'm talking about. Then how do you communicate your value proposition? And I put in here, I put like a little thing on how do you always communicate your value proposition? A lot of times you're the resource. I mean, one of the best ways is you're the one that can be the answer for this. Now, you're just starting off in the industry and it's like, I don't know everything in the industry. Well, guess what, sunshines? I've been in the industry for a while and I don't know everything in the industry. Joey, about 3 weeks ago, we had a morning meeting and somebody had shared in the morning meeting about how what we call agent visual inspection disclosure, how they're handled. And Joey was like, I didn't know that. And literally, I would say all except one realtor on that phone call was like, I didn't know that either. All of us are like, I always do mine, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, guess what? With our combined years, we still didn't know that. So I want you to understand that when you're first starting off, it's almost like, what is my value proposition? You already know more than other people out there who are not in real estate. So that's one of your big value propositions. 2, this is what you're focused on. 3, you have access to all the tools in the industry that will help them. And then 4, you have access to the information, whether it be people, whether it be electronic resources, whether it be research, whatever, you have access to the information that they need. So you're providing a solution for them. Now, part of that marketing is, like I mentioned earlier, what if you're talking to someone and you're saying, hey, if you ever need a plumber, if you ever need a roofer, if you ever need, something like that, please let me know and I can get you some information. That's even your value proposition there, because you're providing that resource, and that's part of your marketing scheme. It says, how can you connect from contribution in a meaningful way? One thing I just mentioned right now, look, you can provide this, you can provide this, you can provide this. Some of the other things I was talking about, you're scratching an itch, that kind of stuff. You're all contributing to them. You're wanting to service these people. You're wanting to give back. That is how you're connecting to them, because you're coming from that way. You're wanting it to be sincere in that sort of way. And the marketing has that. Now, it doesn't mean that everything in your marketing is going to be like a Hallmark card and you're going to be crying every time. It could be things that are cute and whatever. It could be when I put in the dogs, and it's kind of funny. It could be like last night, a personal post is I was at the gym and I burned 510 calories. So I took a photo of me at the gym, like, oh my God, I just burned 510 calories. But then I even put in there, yeah, divide that number by 10 and you got my age, wink, wink. And so I did it just to make it funny, but then that's why people go to my Facebook page. That's why, because it's relatable. It's connecting to them in a meaningful way. How important is your branding consistency in your marketing, and how do you achieve it? Okay, how important? Very. Okay, one of the, oh God, drives me crazy. When I see people, I just have my logo design, but even before I have my logo design, I did some of my own designs at the time. And I chose, even when it came to all of the stuff I produce, I chose one font family, and that's it. So that way everything looks consistent. Whatever I produce looks consistent. I chose my colors. And by the way, you're not stuck with red and black and grays. When I first got in the industry, nobody told me like, oh yeah, you have to put the brokerage like on your business card, but your business card can look like anything. You don't have to use the company colors, because the company colors I came from were ugly. And I was like, I hated everything I produced. I'm like, oh my God, this is ugly. And then I found out it doesn't have to be. Oh, good. Okay. So I changed that, and I went to, my favorite color is blue. And so I put in the, blue in there. I even there's research on what different colors mean and that sort of thing. And, but all of my stuff is almost the same template. So it's very consistent. You can look at my online posts. You can look at my printed stuff. It all looks very consistent. And you want that consistency, because then they associate it with you. In that, if you're going to do a logo, you want the logo to be something that associates with you, but not so non-associative. And logo design is, I can do literally a whole seminar on that, but you want your logo to be something that easily connects to who you are and is easy for other people to connect to who you are. And you also want it to be scalable and easy to recognize. I've had some people, you can tell that they had work done on logos and it has all of this intricate design and that kind of stuff. And then they put that on their open house signs, and I'm driving by and I'm like, I don't know what that was. It's like, all I saw that there was open house going somewhere. I have no clue who the agent is. I have no clue on anything else, because I can't read it. I don't know who it is. So that's the sort of thing, you want that to be consistent. One thing I do like about a lot of the designs that come out of the Keller KW Command is that a lot of those designs are pretty consistent. So it's easy to stick with that. Now, obviously they're in red and black by default. And you can use, you can do your own stuff. I even take, if you guys look at some of my marketing stuff, I even take some of those like I have like a little wheel that shows if you're a buyer, what is the first stage all the way to the ending stage of getting the keys for your house. So I have that little wheel that actually came from somebody else. And I'm like, okay, I popped it into one of my pages that had all my, standard marketing, and I cropped out this other business, and boom, I got my own little thing going on. But it's also very consistent. Everything looks the way it should. And then how should you follow up with leads generated from your marketing? This is one, it depends on what kind of marketing. I have a feeling, I know with this question, every time I go over it, where it's going, I have a feeling talking about like if they're cold leads, you don't know these people. That's when it's going to be harder to connect. So, you reference, hey, you responded to whatever, sort of thing. And then that's where you're going to have to go ahead and, because, okay, we're on marketing. So that's most likely how they're talking about. But if, let's say you were at an open house and you got leads for the open house, well, you already have a connection with them. So it's going to be a little bit more than that. But the key thing about following up is consistency. I don't give a crap what it is, email, text, phone. If you have their address, send them a thank you card. What are you thanking them for? Their time, anything like that. That kind of stuff, it has to be consistent, and you have to do it a lot, especially if you don't know these people. Once you start establishing a relationship with someone, it doesn't have to be as much. Now, let me give you a little tip there. 80% of your business is going to come from 20% of the people that you know in your database. What human nature tells us to do is, oh, I don't know the other 80% that well, so let me focus on them because I want to bring them into my 20%. But the reality is what you should be doing is focusing on that 20% first, then go to that 80%, because eventually that 20% is going to give you most of your business. And that's what you want to focus on. So, and that could be anything from, hey, you're sending them a birthday card, you're sending them that kind of thing. You're focusing in on that to you're taking them out for coffee. One of the best marketing tools out there is face-to-face. Spend the $5 and buy them an overpriced coffee at Starbucks. I like Pete's Coffee better. But buy them the overpriced coffee and just talk to them. That is going to give you a huge return on investment. And I say this all in this marketing because as your business grows and your marketing helps you become more effective and you reach out to people, it's easy to lose sight. And this is where it's return on investment, people. It's easy to lose sight of, I'll just keep doing that marketing. What you want to do is you want to keep doing that marketing, but now you've had somebody at this level and now they're connecting at this level. Take that person to coffee. Now you actually have that point where you can make that deeper. You can bring them into your 20%. So do that, invest in that. Your marketing is what helped you get you there, but then you take it from there. You don't let the marketing try and do everything above that, because the marketing is not going to build those deeper relationships. You can send out all the postcards you want to people. You're not going to be invited to their Christmas dinner. So you spend more time with people, you get face-to-face on them, and they realize they really like you. And oh, by the way, you have a really good stuffing recipe. They may invite you for dinner. Remember, in all your stuff, you want things to be clear and direct. We've got, oh, this is something, okay. This is one of those things I'm going to tell you. One thing I do like about our office, I love Keller Williams, and so many things about it, but we don't drink the Kool-Aid necessarily. So if something sucks, I'll tell you it sucks. I'm like, that just really, oh, that's pretty crappy. So, and not, and so you're going to soon, there's parts of Keller Williams where there's a resource area, and any agents out there can post their whatever they've created. And there's some things like, oh, I put this and this together. And I look at them like, oh, and it's like, well, that's special. Okay. So, but I'm not like, oh yeah, everything that comes out is great. I'm going to tell you if I think something is not. So one of the things is that there's designs in command. And designs in command, the idea is it does let you put together a lot of your own marketing materials. So what are the pros? One, it's a hell of a lot better than Microsoft Word, which a lot of people use for their marketing. I mean, it looks a lot better than that kind of crap. And it also has pre-done designs and easier to drag things in and so on. Another pro, by the way, is all the artwork on Command is what's called license free. This is never gets, I don't know why it doesn't get covered. Technically, and this is from my whole marketing side of my brain, when you put anything out there, if it's an image, you have to either have the rights to that image or been given the rights. And what I mean by that is you've purchased them and you have a license for that. And even then the license can be restricted. Like your licensing can be only for print, or your licensing can only be for a certain event and no other events, or your licensing can be unlimited for whatever you want it for. So, I mean, you can pay for those sort of things. Or there's images out there too that are free, and it's called Creative Commons licensing, and you can find those images as well, and you can use those as well. And I do that all the time. Okay, just FYI. But then if there's other images that are supposed to be owned, then and you use that, you know, you Googled something, it's like, oh, that could get you into trouble. Okay. And, you know, sometimes it's really easy for images to be found out. Fonts are technically the same thing, but font, that's a whole different ballgame because it's really hard to know. Technically, if you could hand draw, like a common font is Helvetica, you can, and people have done this, hand drawn a copy of Helvetica and they can publish it because it's hand drawn. You just can't electronically copy it and then publish it. So people have hand drawn a lot of common fonts out there and then published them for a lot cheaper. And so that's really hard to recognize when it's in front of you. Like, is this a copy or is this the real one? I don't know. Those are a little bit harder to nail down, but the pictures are not. Well, the great thing about Command is you don't have to worry about any of that crap. All of this stuff is already pre-licensed, free, all of that kind of stuff. So that's another great resource. Now, what are the cons? Because of my background, I happen to use the professional apps like Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator. They're not as, Command is not as robust as that. It's also not as complicated. I've had people say, oh, I want to learn that. And then I open it up and they're like, oh, no, I don't want to learn that. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of options all over the place, huh? And so that's a pro and a con. You know, it's not a professional level, which is good because you're also not having to learn it at a professional level. It's a little bit more intuitive. But because of that, it's not also as tweakable. You know, you can't like, oh, I just want to nudge this here. Oh, I just want to do this there. Sometimes you can't do that. And so what they let you do is what you have to do. But I would say if you don't have, you know, this as a resource, you know, you can even create things in here and then bring them into something else. Another great resource, not KW Kool-Aid, but it's Canva. Canva will give you a free account and it'll let you do basic things on that. And I've seen people actually turn out some great stuff. They've even taken other things they've gotten like PDFs, JPEGs, brought them into Canva, and then literally they'll crop it out and do other things like that and then make it their own. So that's another great way of doing it. Okay, I'm not going to spend any more on that. So this is a typical copy. And the reason why I'm doing this, I'm telling you all theory. So let me give you an example. Look at this. This is actually a postcard that went out. Tell me what you like and what you don't like about it.
I like that it's not too wordy,
Okay.
but I don't really love the cluttered pots in the background there.
Okay. Good. What else?
I don't like the position of the picture. Like the view is, it's kind of, it's not open. It's like closed view, you know.
Yeah. What else?
Can't really read the Realty Group font in the bottom right there.
Yeah, everything is very small. I agree.
Yes, drives me crazy. And that's a typical one. When it was big on my screen, it looked great. Now you got to reduce that puppy. It's called line weight. It's how thick a line is. And line weight, when you reduce it, if it's not a good thickness, then it turns into that, where it gets lost too. Also, the reason why I bring that up is when it comes to printing, if the line weight is too thin, it just won't print. You won't see it. What else?
I'm not a big fan of the gray color, the background, you know.
Doesn't
Yeah.
catch your eye, does it? In fact, it blends too much.
No, the gray and white doesn't match. Yeah.
There's times in some of my layouts, I'll do something, and because the background color is too much like my block, sometimes it's called a block color because it's solid. It's too much like my block color. I'm like, no, I got to change my block color or I got to use another photo because that's just not going to work. Okay, a few times, this is one that other people have brought up in this one too. They're like, well, is this a house? Is this a loft? Is this, they don't exactly know what it is. And in this description, it says open house, but you don't know is it, what kind of structure is it? And I agree with you. The way it's laid out is like, the angle, is that a side door or is that the front door? Because look at the way the couch and everything is situated. You're like, okay. And
I thought
yes,
that's a window. I don't know. It's confusing. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And the
that's
other
not
thing
the
is,
best picture to entice any clientele. Like,
yeah. Would you want to go see this place? Well, it looks weird and it's cluttered. I
yeah,
agree with you. The whole pots and pans thing. In fact, in the photo shoot today, it's one of the rarities. This will probably be the second place that the photo shoot, literally, I'm going to bring a few orchids and put in the place because they live like it's a model house. So I don't have to do much. But most of the time, in photo shoots, in fact, I had a recent one, I literally am taking a bunch of shit from one room, putting it in the dining room. Okay, take photos of the kitchen. Now let's put all this shit back in the kitchen because now we got to take photos of the dining room. And because and I say this all the time to people, just like we joke around that the camera puts on 10 pounds, anything that stands out in a photo will make it look that much more cluttered. So you want less and less and less in the photos. In real life, you could walk into this place and it doesn't feel cluttered because you're there and you're present. But when it's printed, it flattens it and it makes it look cluttered. So totally good call on that one. Okay, next one. Tell me what you like and what you don't like.
The big white circle with heart link, that's like the wrong position there. That's wrong, I think. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't match with the whole like panorama, like the neighborhood, the green and stuff, you know.
Yeah, what else?
It seems like I'm wondering, is this map all of Gem Heights, or what exactly is Gem Heights?
People have brought that up before too. What am I looking at? Who the hell do you contact?
that's a good one.
You know, wait, who am I contacting on this? That's another one. It's like, oh, okay. Somebody
I guess
pointed
they have
out,
to Google heart link homes, right?
yeah. And who's going to go through that? Human nature. Actually, that's a really good thing to point out, Safwan. Human nature is, if it becomes too difficult, I'm not going to do it. And I have this argument all the time with people who are stubborn in some ways, when it comes to things, oh, well, they can just look that up. They're not going to, let me tell you. And again, the chamber I mentioned before, sometimes I would tell them that you need to put a link in the email that goes directly to that. oh, well, it's there in the JPEG, they can type it out. Nobody's going to type that thing out. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. You know, you need to make it easy and accessible for people. Yeah, there's you know, you have those sort of things. You're talking about, you know, Gem Heights. Somebody mentioned to this, they go, well, where is Gem Heights? I don't know. I'm not sure where it is. Somebody pointed out they're assuming that this is in a luxury area. And then this is what they pointed out. But if this is a luxury area, these are really nice homes. And I don't care if you're, you know, in Arkansas, they probably will be going them more than $360,000. So there's probably a disconnect on the photo to the price. And this goes into what you were saying, Ashley, like, what am I looking at? Is this really Gem Heights? Okay, next one. What do you guys like and don't like?
I'm not too excited about the property that was just, or the lot that was just listed here. It's not, it doesn't look great.
Yeah, okay.
What's going on with the middle picture? There is nothing there. Can you see anything? Yeah, it's like a jungle or something.
Mm-hmm. What else?
It's all in the details, and there is no details.
Oh my God, yes, thank you.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yep,
Details whatsoever. Yeah.
especially the one in the last one, the one that's pending. There's even less detail,
Yeah. There's no square footage, like how big. Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
No contact info again.
Yep. And if you notice, this is a logo where they made, and this is, you got to be careful with this. A lot of people like using gray in their logos, and that's fine. But then your gray really should be large, because if you do thin font and it's a shade of anything, not a full ink color, and then especially you reduce it, it's like, what is that saying? You know, and people can't read it. Yeah, I love where people have said before when I've done this class, you know, it's like the vacant lot doesn't look appealing. And what is it doing here? You know, you have Wichita, Bentley, okay, and a vacant lot. It sticks out. It's almost like whoever the person who put this together is like, oh, well, here's all the properties we have. Well, maybe that one shouldn't be in there, you know? Another thing, and this is a trick that we can use. When, like today we're doing photos, and I told my client today, listen, when we do photos, I am not allowed to retouch, fix things that will affect the value of your property. So what I mean by that is, what if there's telephone lines in it? Can't touch it. The property I have in Highland Park that just went into escrow, from some of the angles, you can see the air conditioner on the roof and it doesn't look great. I can't retouch that out. So I just don't use that photo. I actually used another photo instead that was slightly more to the front, and then you don't see the air conditioner, because I can't retouch that out. What can I do? One, I would make the damn grass greener on Rose Lane. Okay. You know, when it comes to that sort of thing, you can, and I do this all the time in Photoshop, I'll make the grass green. I've actually, the place that's on Hawaii or whatever it is, I have actually taken a home and the grass looked like Rose Lane, and I made it look like that. And then I put it up on my Facebook, and I had some people say, oh my God, look at the lawn. I go, oh, no, I know. And the house is gorgeous too. Because the lawn is a living thing, you can't guarantee what it's going to be like. And it's something that changes. So, you know, and just like when we do the photo shoot today, I'm going to put in orchids and that kind of stuff in some places. Now, by the time somebody buys a house, that orchid may be dead. I don't care, you know, because it's not a fixed item. Another thing you can do for this kind of thing is see how the driveway is. And it's like, okay, it just doesn't look appealing. If you notice in car commercials, a lot of times they'll have, especially if they do twilight photos, they'll water down the cement to give it that reflective look. And I've done that in some of my photo shoots as well, if I thought that that was going to be really effective. And I've hosed down, that, because in this one, especially since you're looking at it straight on, it would make it look really nice. I've taken, in fact, the Highland Park home, again, I took some photos that were on the street and it showed cars in the street. And I was able to borrow enough from some other places, and I literally retouched the cars out, because that's not a fixed thing. And then it made it look just more, it didn't look as cluttered. The photo didn't look as busy. Again, that's something I can do. The cracks in the driveway, nope, I'm not retouching those out, because that's something that cannot be fixed, or it is something that's there, and people will notice cracks. So that's some of the, by the way, the little, things in there. Another one is people are like, well, where's the contact information? Yeah, I don't see that in there. And it's boring. It's just, it doesn't scratch an itch. It doesn't do, it's just boring, sort of thing. So we are at the end, because technically, I don't know if anybody told you on the other Ignites, these were all geared to be 4 hours long. And everybody's like, yeah, Ashley, I just saw the look on your face. It's like, oh no, that's not happening. So anyways, this is a point where, and hey, I'm staying right within the time. Other things on marketing. Let me bring up, if I just have a chance. Do you have any questions right now, by the way? Okay, that's pretty quiet. Oh yeah, that's a lot of dead air, people.
Okay, I have a question. Maybe it's not there.
Sure.
Which one you prefer, like online marketing, advertising, or prospecting, like cold calling and to bring leads?
They're two different beasts, and it depends on what you want to do. I did, when, I mentioned my buddy of mine who, when I first got in real estate, he is the person who cold calls all the time. That's what I want to show. So he will be on the phone 3 to 4 hours a day and cold call all these people. Well, that is that's for him. I tried that. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So it's just not something for me, period. For other people, that works. And a lot of times that also involves the whole idea of you're going to be calling those expired leads. And so that's one of those that if you want to do that, fine. Sometimes it also, by the way, I did it to see if I'd be okay doing it. And that's when I realized, nope, that doesn't fit me. It just doesn't fit my style, doesn't fit the database I have, all of that sort of thing. Whereas,
it doesn't hurt to try, I guess.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't hurt to try, you have
but
to
it doesn't
try.
hurt to try. No. Now,
Yeah.
I was also told at the same time, you can call the expireds, you can do this, you can door knock. And door knocking was one. I'm like, oh, I'm going to hate that. I actually love door knocking. I love it. I dig it. It's one of those like, yes, every time I'm kind of wondering like, oh, but the more I do it, the more I like it. And I every time I start off and there's some resistance to it, and it gets less and less, but there's still some resistance to it. By the time I'm done, I'm like, oh my God, that was great. So door knocking is also another really great tool. I know right now some people are a little bit hesitant, on door knocking, but just in general, that's one of those things that I tried and I really, really liked, and I did it for quite a while. I really did at the beginning of my career.
So basically, I'm sorry to interrupt. So basically, it depends on the personality, right? On you, what do you want? Right?
How you're going, exactly, how you're going to do your business or start your business. And a lot of people, by the way, I said that I'm a networking and referral type of agent mainly. Doesn't mean I don't do other marketing. But a lot of people start their business one way and end up another. You know, you may want to, you may not farm an area or a demographic. Like I specialize in seniors. And technically what I'm saying is I'm farming senior demographic. But you may not start off in that area, but end up in that area. You know, your career may shift at different times, depending on the connections you make too. This is, by the way, 3 examples of really bad, can you guys see this, by the way? Okay, really bad marketing. It's worse to do this because it's just worse to do this, you know? So make sure when you do marketing, you notice this. 1, subject here, hi, contact first name. Okay, that doesn't really, you know, do much for me. And then this is another email right below it. Hello, recipient first name. And then contact me for all your real estate needs. And all their stuff is empty. That's send out a test. Thoroughly go through your test email to yourself first and make sure it's what you want it to be. By the way, did you notice this one? Just doled, not sold, just doled. That's one. It's like, okay, they did not check. Yeah, they just did not check it. What is, let's see. Oh my God, this is another one. This is one where they thought, oh, we're getting fancy. And it's like, no, you just got busy. That's all. So this is a buyer's first guide. Oh my God, I can't read. It just like, it hurts my eyes to look at this. Okay. It's less is more. And some of this stuff just shouldn't be, this background crap shouldn't be in there. Just no.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. It doesn't even look like the picture. It's like not clear. What is it? It's like a guy and two and then something. I don't know.
It says the Realty Gals, and I have no idea what that is either. Yeah. And if you notice, this is from Keller Williams. By the way, I downloaded this from one of those resource things. Like, oh, hey, here's the buying guide we put together. I downloaded it and went, oh my God, this looks like crap. And I have a ton of examples out there too. I do a whole marketing class every once in a while just on bad marketing and good marketing. Today was more the why you do marketing and how you do it and that sort of thing. But I just kind of wanted to point those things out there. Run stuff by other people. If you do an email, newsletter campaign, pick things that don't read. How do I want to put this? Some people need to have somebody else read over what they're putting together and give them honest feedback. So why do I say that? I have somebody that I know that sends out a newsletter every so often, and I don't know what program they're using to put it together, but like it's centered here, it's to the left here, it's to the right here. I'm like, oh my God, I'm having to follow this all over the place instead of like one consistent look. It's different fonts all over the place in the same newsletter. I'm like, no, this hurts my eyes. And then it's just some of the articles in there. One was, this was a number of months ago, but it was like, India's battle with COVID is at a desperate levels. And then it has a little bit of article information and a link. I'm like, why are you putting this in your realtor newsletter? This is not something that goes in your realtor newsletter. And the worst one so far was the lead article was, today is the day that Hitler committed suicide.
That's funny.
At
least that grabs the attention, somehow.
I did. I was like, wow, but not in a good way. And because remember, then you're also associated with this stuff. I'm going, oh, no. So that's what I mean. Have somebody look over things, your presentation. By the way, I even tell people when they're doing open house, how I dress for open house changes depending on who I'm representing and where I'm representing. My Highland Park open houses, I was fairly business casual. You know, I wore a blazer a few times. A few other times I wore a really nice polo shirt with dress slacks, you know, but it was all business casual, because that neighborhood calls for that. And so it's like, okay, that works. It's still a step above what everybody else is wearing coming in, but it's appropriate. That's actually marketing. You know, that's how I'm making other people feel comfortable. It's how I'm being professional, that sort of idea. I've had some realtors, I'm like, seriously, you're holding open house wearing that? But I also have a full wardrobe of really, really nice suits. And I used to wear suits all the time when I first started this business. But I started realizing that a lot of the demographic I work with, and your more affluent demographic, doesn't require as much of wearing the suits. Sometimes the blazer's great, you know, and that's always a great way to make yourself look professional, but still approachable. But it didn't have to go that high. It's actually, ironically, a lot of the lower cost housing areas, the suit automatically impresses, and that's the marketing. But the brokerage I came from, that was their emphasis, because that's primarily who they market to. So even that has to do with who you are. It's all in your presentation, and making people feel comfortable, and you're connecting with them and you're relating with them. It's when it comes to marketing, when it comes to relationships, building those, it's people want to feel comfortable, people want to feel important, and people want their needs met. And so your return on investment is meeting that.
I do have one question for you, Rob.
Sure.
What is the most effective marketing you would recommend to a new realtor?
Work your database. You know, work your database. I don't know how many people are in your database, but that's something where reach out to them, put them on a newsletter, you know, be consistent about your newsletter, social media. I'm giving you all the freebie stuff. You know, if you're wanting to now dig a little deeper, that's going to be a whole different ballgame, you know, as far as like how much you're going to spend. But those things, you know, get down first. Get your business cards done, and hand out your business cards to people all the time. That's a huge part of your marketing, because then there's a way to follow up. As you hand out your business cards, ask for their business card, and if they have one. If not, ask if you can write down their information. You know, that way you're creating, because then you're using your card as marketing, but then you're also getting their information. So that's a little bit of that hybrid where, yeah, it's marketing, it's also prospecting at the same time. Those would be the first things I would do. When I first got in the business, I constantly was told, you know, work your database. And I'm like, okay, but again, I came from a really stupid brokerage, so they didn't tell me what I should be doing to work it. You know, again, contacting, going through, you know, for me, I had 1,600 people in my database and I needed to clean it up. Well, the way I cleaned it up was I finally, and this was 2 years ago, a year ago, I finally just went through, and every day I'm going to go through as much of the A's as possible. And I cleaned that all up. And as I went through, I called, I text, you know, and if I knew them really well, I also sent them a card. And I just went through, and that was cheap marketing. And it got me a lot of relationship building and putting out there, and follow up. If you get anybody who has raised their hand, follow up.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
I guess not. Everything is good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm off to a photo shoot for one of the homes I'm going to be listing. So I will see you guys later. Thanks for being here, and thanks for participating too. It always is a lot more fun when you guys are involved too. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Bye.